Hi readers, Lee here. Welcome back to my channel, Lila Waters and Reads, and welcome to my weekend books. And it has not been a great week. I thought December started off strong, but it is not that great. I started and finished one book this week, and that is a low for me. Usually, sorry, I'm half prepared here. Usually, I'm used to reading 3, 4, 5 books a week, and this week to only start and finish one book is really just very difficult for me. I'm trying to find something that I did finish on my Kindle, but I don't know where the hell it is. Also, I'm not used to using my Kindle on my phone. What the hell? What the hell is going on here, folks? I don't know. I came off half-cocked, and I'm just not with it today. Anywho, let's forget about the Kindle because those books don't count anyway. So, when I left you last week, after my weekend books, I was currently reading What Happened to Nina by Dervla McTiernan. Now, Miss McTiernan is an author from Australia, and according to the blurb on the back, the author bio, she lives in Australia. So maybe things are different down in Australia. Maybe they don't get the news that we got here in the U.S. Because this is not even loosely based, but loosely based on the Gabby Petito story. And if you lived in America when it was going on, that was all you heard about on the news every day until they found out what happened to her and until her boyfriend killed himself ultimately. Until they found her body. That is not a spoiler. If you Google Gabby Petito, I'm not spoiling anything you shouldn't already know. So anyway, What Happened to Nina is very loosely based on that. And it is about the parents of both the children. I call them children, young adults, whatever. So, what happened to Nina? Nobody knows. Simon's explanation about what happened in their last hours together doesn't add up. Nina's parents push police for answers, and Simon's parents rush to protect him. They hire expensive lawyers and a PR firm that quickly ramps up a vicious, nothing-is-off-limits media campaign. How far will his family go to keep him safe? Yeah, they got a lot of money, so they'll go really far. Soon, facts are lost in a swirl of accusation and counter-accusation. Everyone chooses a side, and the story goes viral, fueled by armchair investigators and wild conspiracy theories, and illustrated with pretty pictures taken from Nina's social media accounts. I want to just stop there, because that's all I'm going to talk about. I don't think that, although people do, you should necessarily use someone's life for entertainment purposes. And a book is entertainment largely. Entertainment, education, escape. For me. So, I don't think you should glamorize someone's death. That said, books can tell you how, bring light problems that occur in society. Sexual abuse, molestation, domestic violence. But this was just boring. And I hate to say it like that. I don't think you should get entertainment from someone's pain or trauma, but my God, I gotta be able to finish the fucking book to get your point. And she didn't really have a point that I could figure out, except for, I don't know. I don't know what the point was. I thought that you got a better story watching the media during the Gabby Petito and watching a documentary about Gabby Petito than you did from here. I didn't learn anything from this. It didn't really make any statement on domestic violence. The best part was Nina's part at the very beginning, and of course that's cut short. That's just a prologue, because after that she's dead. Anywho, I DNF'd that. I'm trying to be more accountable to what I DNF and think about it before I DNF. You'll see here, I'll talk here in a minute, because it's easy to DNF, and I don't want to take the easy route, but I also don't want to give too much of my time to things that don't deserve my time. That did not deserve my time. Sorry. Okay. Something that did deserve my time, and I finished it on audio, is The Skystone by Jack Whyte. I am currently not listening to anything on audio. I have decided to take a hiatus for the rest of the year, possibly. I'm going to listen to podcasts. I am going to listen to Christmas music and enjoy that. I say that now. By this time next week, I could have another audiobook started, but I don't plan to. I want to give myself a little grace and freedom to listen to whatever I want on my phone, in my car, at the house. However, I'm still deciding whether or not I will continue with this audio series. I've already read these books, but it's been probably 30 years. I don't know. Let me tell you what the Skystone's about, though. So, I've long been a fan of Arthurian tales, and this looks at the story of Arthur from a really historical fiction standpoint. It does not have any of the magic that I look for when I go to the Arthur tales. So this is the beginning of the Camelot Chronicles. We all know the story, how Arthur pulled the sword from the stone, how Camelot came to be, and the power struggles that ultimately destroyed Arthur's dreams. But what of the time before Arthur? What were the forces that helped create him? And how did the legend really come to pass? Before the time of Arthur and Camelot, I'm just determined to call him Arthur, Britain had become a dark and deadly place, savaged by warring factions of Picts, Celts, and invading Saxons. The Roman citizens, who had lived there for generations, were suddenly faced with a deadly choice. Should they leave and take up residence in a Roman world that was corrupt and utterly foreign? Or stay and face the madness that would surely ensue when the Roman legions, Britain's last bastion of safety for the civilized, leave? For two Romans, Publius Verus and his friend Caius Britannicus, there can be only one answer. They will stay, try to preserve what is best of Roman life, and create a new culture out of the wreckage. In doing so, they will plant the seeds of the legend. For these two men are Arthur's great-grandfathers, and their actions will shape a nation and forge a sword known as Excalibur. I cannot pronounce today. So, here's what happens in this. First of all, a lot of people are called Horsons. He uses that word liberally throughout the book. I don't have a problem with it, it's just a lot. So the Skystones are like meteors or something that fall from the sky, and he's going to end up, Publius Verus, I believe, is going to end up making Excalibur from one of these Skystones. The Lady in the Lake is also a piece of the Skystone. That's brought up at the very end. Caius, as you'll find out later, is actually Merlin, which is kind of why I want to continue with this series. I like I said, I've read it, but it's been 30 years, so I remember absolutely nothing. And this really talks about how Publius and Caius got together, and a lot of political stuff and fighting that I don't remember anymore because I was listening to it, so I kind of just let it just kind of go in and out, in one ear and out the other. I did really enjoy this series. Again, it's more historical fiction, less magic. But I have 2 books that I've not finished in the series. It's a 9-book series, and so I'd kind of like to finish up the series and see where it goes. Listening to it on audiobook is a good way to catch up on it without having to sit down and reread it. So, anywho. Alright, now we get to the one book that I started and finished. And that book is The Plot by Hanff Korelitz. Two and a half stars, rounded up to 3 on Goodreads because I was being nice. I almost DNF'd this. The bottom line is, it was really boring and really slow. The main character, who in my mind I've been calling Jack while I was doing this recording, his real name is Jake. I don't care. I don't like him. I don't dislike him because Okay, here's a little stereotyping, but it kind of corresponds with some stereotyping that was done in the book that I had an issue with, which is people from the South, specifically Georgia. But Jake's from New York, and he gives off this kind of pretentious New York vibe that is stereotypical, that when I think of New York, that is what comes to mind, even though I know all New Yorkers are not like that. This book gives me that vibe. And so I have the sequel to the plot, which is called The Sequel. Oh, so clever, and oh so whatever. Anyway, and I'm not interested in reading it. It too made the 100 notable books, I think, for this year, and now I wish I'd never heard of it. This book is hailed as breathtakingly suspenseful by Megan Abbott. I don't know who she is, but it is not. It was not to me. There are some parts that I did like in here. There's some humor at the very beginning, but aside from that, I just did not care. I'll get to why as I go through this. Once a promising young novelist, Jake is teaching in a third-rate MFA program and struggling to maintain his self-respect. When Evan, Jake's most arrogant student, announces that his own book in progress is a sure thing, Jake dismisses the boast as amateur narcissism. Then he hears the plot. Now here's like a semi-spoiler here. The author actually reveals the plot in the plot. And the plot is supposed to be so brilliant that no poor writing can fuck it up. That anybody could write it, and then everybody would want movies to make after it. Oprah would be after you, blah, 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 blah. Except when you make that kind of claim and then you reveal the plot, it's not all that. I just think that, first of all, that's a huge, huge claim to make. And then second of all, minor spoiler here, he doesn't actually steal the guy's story or words, he steals the idea. Well, there's limited number of ideas, so most of this was his own. I would have handled it much differently. Anywho, after Evan dies suddenly, without ever completing his book, and even if he did, so fucking what? It's not like this is unique. I don't think the plot is very unique at all. Anywho, Jake does what any writer would do with a story that brilliant. Soon, he is wealthy and read all over the world, so you're telling me I could take this plot that's so brilliant, and I could write a story about it, and everybody can I make millions? Anywho, can't. But at the height of his glorious new life, an email arrives. The first salvo in a terrifying anonymous campaign. Come on, it's not that fucking terrifying. It's, "You are a thief," it says. Okay, prove it. As Jake struggles to understand his antagonist and hide the truth, I would have come out with that shit straight up. I would have gone to my publisher and said, "Look, it's a minor annoyance. Come on." And the publisher says, "Prove it." And no one ever does, so whatever. Anywho, he begins to learn about his late student, and what he discovers both amazes and terrifies him. Where did Evan get the idea for his novel? What is the real story behind it? And who stole it from whom? So one time, one of the things that I like to do that I haven't done in a long time is I do like to go to fine dining restaurants. Preferably, if I can get to it, a Michelin-starred restaurant. Gordon Ramsay is one of my favorites. I've talked about that before in some of my cookbook talks. But I was talking about this with a colleague one time, and he said something about would never want to go to those because they're pretentious and uppity, or, stuck up is not what he said, but that's kind of what the vibe was, and how they would treat him as less than. But the truth is, if you go to a Michelin-starred restaurant, they don't treat you like that. They treat you like you're paying for damn good food. But that pretension that he was talking about, I'm trying to get to a point. The pretension that he was talking about is what I felt reading the plot. Like, this is the sort of novel that everybody talks about, like, oh, ha ha ha, we're so clever and blah blah blah. So that was kind of a long way around to make a point. I just don't see it. It was not. It was, even at the very end, I did spoil myself on the reveal, but even on at the very end, where this climax was happening, it was boring. I was like watching TV and trying to hurry up and finish this book at the same time, because I was just not that interested anymore. I've got something in my eye. Sorry, kind of rambled on there about Michelin-starred restaurants and stereotypes and pretension, but this just gave off that kind of vibe for me. Like, all the clever girls, all the cool girls talk about this, but it's really not that great. Anywho. Okay, so I did finish a Goodreads book, a Kindle book. Okay, found it. I did finish a Kindle book called Bring on the Blessings by Beverly Jenkins. This was also 2.5 stars, rounded up to 3. And this one, and one that, there was another one I DNF'd. It's not on here because I deleted it. But I finished this morning. I wasn't going to include this because I started reading it November 10th. I don't read on my Kindle very often. I am trying to get into a habit of reading on it every weekend morning, so I know that Kindle books will take longer. Also, my experience on Kindle isn't as great, so I really didn't enjoy Bring on the Blessings. I also thought the writing was a little bit amateurish, and now I really, between that and the plot, maybe I need to start writing my own story. But yeah, I just wanted to mention that. So I did finish another book that I started a month ago. Finally finished that one. Since we're talking about the Kindle, I have started Deck the Fire Halls by N.R. Walker. You probably can't see this. This is Heartbridge Christmas number 5. N.R. Walker has done this queer Christmas series, and it is such a cozy series. I'm gonna look and see if they have them in paperback, because there are times it gets a little spicy for me, but really it's like Hallmark and Disney all wrapped in one, and it is a really go-to, feel-good kind of book. So here's what, and I actually will finish this before the end of the year, because I enjoy the Heartbridge Christmas series. So, Dr. Robinson O'Reilly is burned out. Exhausted, jaded, and disillusioned with the bureaucracy of his profession, he's ready to throw away his entire career. Convinced to take a part-time position in a small town instead, he packs his medical bag for Heartbridge, Montana. Who knows, maybe the change of pace and mountain air will do him good. Firefighter Captain Soren Da Silva moved to Heartbridge 2 years ago. He loves the town, the people, his job. What he doesn't like is the lack of queer men. That's actually not true. Okay, sorry, here he goes. Well, the lack of available queer men. There are a few queer couples in town whom Soren can only look at with envy. There's like 3 of them in town. There's a new doctor in... Okay, sorry. He wants what they have. There's a new doctor in town. Not Soren's usual type, but there's something about him that Soren can't ignore. A friendship sparks between them, and Soren can't help but wonder if that Heartbridge Christmas magic the others joke about is real. Because a spark leads to flames, and this is not a fire Soren wants to extinguish. So these are really cute. There is some spicy sex scenes in this, but like I said, they're also really cute Christmas romance series. And I don't think that they have these in... I don't think they have these in paperback. At this point, though, if they do, I'm going to look at buying the whole series because it's very sweet. It's very cute. I loved it. Oh, I haven't finished this one, but I've loved every other one of them. They're very, like I said, very light, very cute, very Christmassy. And so that is what I'm reading on the Kindle. Next up, and I will talk more about this tomorrow in Book Talk Tuesday, I'll be reading If I'm Being Honest by Emily Whyberly and Austin Siegemund-Broka. I'm going to start this today. Today's Saturday when I'm recording this. I hope to finish it by tomorrow. God, I really hope to. If not Monday, because I do have a lot of chores to do this weekend. After I finish this, I'm going to finish Lonesome Dove. I'll get to that in just a minute. But let me tell you about If I'm Being Honest. For a while now, I have planned to do a Shakespeare-themed Book Talk Tuesday. And tomorrow's the day. I have got a tweet to tell you about. I want to talk about Shakespeare and derivative works. So please do stop by tomorrow. In the meantime, Cameron Bright has a lot to say and even more to learn about love. Turns out, being gorgeous and popular doesn't get you off the hook for being a total bitch. Guess Cameron didn't get the memo. So when her crush, Andrew, balks at her nasty ways, she'll do anything to get back in his favor. Anything takes the form of a self-taming project, a la Shakespeare's famous shrew, Catherine. If Cameron can prove to Andrew she's changed for the better, he'll have to give her another chance. But facing her flaws head-on is no easy task, especially when making amends with a certain guy leads to complicated feelings. So, I am looking forward to reading this. I definitely need something that is a little bit lighter after the plot. I say that. I mean, it's not like this was a deep read or a heavy read. It was just boring to me. I had almost I talked about this in my short earlier today. I almost picked up the unsub, but I had already started the plot, and I'm like, I don't want to, delete it from my Goodreads. But this is actually a thriller based on a serial killer, so I'm thinking that this might have been the better read. Don't know. Not gonna find out right now. Not sure when I'll get to the unsub. Is it the unsub? It's just unsub. Not sure when I'll get to unsub now. Because after this, it should be, like I said, should finish Monday at the latest. That's the 16th. Then I still have a good bit of the month left. I have been reading Lonesome Dove as my purse book. You can see how far I've gotten, and that's in the first half of the month. I've got a lot to go, and I want to get this finished before the end of the month. So once I finish, if I'm being honest, then I am just going to bite the bullet and start reading Lonesome Dove, and it will probably take me the rest of the week to read that because it's a slower read, but I think I know a way to kind of break it up for me to help me read faster. But this is really a good read, though. It's enjoyable. It's not... I say it's slower because I don't sit down with it. I'm always just sitting down to... Because it's a purse book, I only have a short amount of time to read, which is why I'm going to focus on my evenings on this, because I think that'll speed it up a little bit. This is good. I actually intend to start watching the miniseries. It's on free for, on Roku TV or Tubi or something like that. But in case you haven't heard... Larry McMurtry is a Pulitzer Prize winner. He won it for Lonesome Dove. I swear to you, I am not doing a Pulitzer Prize project. I do have a Booker project coming up, hopefully. But I keep picking up Pulitzer Prize winners, which maybe I'll tell you about a little more. Okay. USA Today says, if you read only one Western novel in your life, read Lonesome Dove. A love story, an adventure, an epic of the frontier, Larry McMurtry's Pulitzer Prize-winning classic, Lonesome Dove, the third book in his tetralogy, but it's really the first one that he wrote, is the grandest novel ever written about the last defiant wilderness of America. Journey to the dusty little town of Lonesome Dove and meet an unforgettable assortment of heroes and outlaws, whores and ladies, Indians and settlers. Richly authentic, beautifully written, always dramatic. They leave out comedic, but Lonesome Dove is a book to make us laugh, weep, dream, and remember. And I've actually laughed out loud reading this. It's got some really funny parts, which is why, in addition to wanting to finish it before the end of the month, I realize as a purse book, it's not getting the attention that it deserves. So despite the fact that it's long, this is the time of year I read longer books anyway. So I'm going to take it out of my purse and put it on my couch so I can read it in the evenings and finish it back to back to back. Anywho. So that's where I am. I hope that this time next week I will have finished both of these and started another. I hope also I finished that Fifth in the Heartbridge Christmas series. And that is, I guess, all I have to say for my week in books. I'm really disappointed in how this week went. I have been very hard and very judgmental on myself. I'm trying to hold myself accountable for DNFing. But I also think I've been making some choices that weren't... I don't know. I mean, how do you choose? I chose What Happened to Nina sounded great. The plot sounded great. 100 Notable Books of 2021. The ratings for both of those are very high. But for me, they just didn't work. So, anywho, that is it for me. I'm sorry I rambled on a little bit. Thank you as always for watching and for sticking with me on this journey. Happy reading!